If everything is this cheap, why do we feel poorer than ever? Maybe the problem isn't cheapness itself. Could it be the invisible trap built around it? Today, cheapness is presented almost as a universal virtue. Cheaper phones, cheaper clothes, cheaper toys, cheaper lives. When we look at the shelves, much of this cheapness has a common source: China. However, this is not merely a success story of production. It is also a warning sign of a serious global economic and social trap. This phenomenon, known as the China trap, describes a system in which everything becomes too cheap to survive. Over the past 40 years, China has become the world's factory. Behind this lie low labor costs, state-supported industrial policies, large-scale production, and flexible environmental standards. At first glance, this seems advantageous for consumers. It becomes possible to buy the same product for less. But this is exactly where the problem begins. As cheapness becomes permanent, local producers who cannot compete at these prices gradually withdraw from the market. Small workshops close, medium-sized businesses go bankrupt, and countries lose their capacity to produce. At this point, the China trap comes into play, because an economy cannot survive on consumption alone. When production weakens, employment declines, incomes fall, and society becomes increasingly fragile. Consumers who initially feel relieved by cheap prices may, in the long run, turn into unemployed individuals. In other words, short-term gains turn into long-term losses. The problem is not only economic. Extremely cheap production often makes the true cost paid by human labor and nature invisible. Low wages, long working hours, limited job security, and environmental damage lie behind this cheapness. A cheap t-shirt does not carry only a low price tag. It also contains an invisible chain of costs. In one link of this chain are exploited workers, in another polluted rivers and disappearing agricultural lands. Even more dangerous is the growing dependence of countries on foreign suppliers in strategic sectors. The effects of this were clearly seen during the pandemic. When the production of vital goods such as masks, medicines, and medical equipment is concentrated in just a few countries, global crises become far more destructive. In a world where everything is cheap, the assumption that everything will always be accessible is a major illusion. Of course, the problem is not China's existence or its production itself. The real problem is a global system that focuses solely on the cheapest option. Values such as quality, sustainability, fair wages, and local production are pushed into the background in this race. Options that are more expensive but fairer are overshadowed by those that are cheaper but destructive. In conclusion, the China trap does not point to just one country, but to a mindset. The belief that everything must constantly become cheaper weakens economies, makes societies dependent, and consumes the future. The real question is this: are we choosing what is cheap or what allows a livable future? Because some things, in order to survive, should not be cheap.